Hey everybody, welcome back. Working on Jeep Scrambler. I've got the intake, carbs, and header on. These are just paper towels and some of the vacuum holes and stuff. They can be a little bit of a bear to get on, but you just got to get everything lined up and it goes in there. The exhaust, both of those guys come out right there. We're just real close to the motor mount there, so we'll have to be careful. And we got to get two pipes through there, and the automatic transmission linkage has to get through there, so it's going to get kind of tight. And Scott, I think we talked about stainless steel and stainless steel mufflers the whole way through. Let me know if that's still the case, if you want to go stainless exhaust. And I'm going to get that fabbed up next. And I was going to put the power steering pump in. You can see the steering gear is in. I was going to put the power steering pump in there, but these holes on the manifold don't line up right, so I had to do some modifications there. I'll show you that in a minute. And we're going to talk a little bit about the steering gear, and I'm going to put the Scrambler up on the lift, and we'll go underneath and talk about a couple things under there. Okay guys, hope I got enough light on there and you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I had to put a drop pitman arm in here because we got a little bit of a lift on here. Right in here you can see that. That nut right there is a lock nut that I use. The factory one is just a very thin nut, and the one that came off his old box, the lock washer was broken in half and the nut was loose. That's a critical area right there. Don't skimp on hardware. It's a 7/8 nut on there. I got a thin nylon lock nut in there, and it's got red Loctite on it. And when you're putting that on there, guys, 185 foot-pounds is where you want to be. Anything less than that, you're going to cause yourself some trouble. 185 foot-pounds, red Loctite 271. The steering gear has my box mount on it. Let's see if we can see that. Okay, so all these bolts here, 1, 2, and then there's 2 above here. There's 4 bolts there. Those are 7/16 14 bolts, and red Loctite again on there, 271. These bolts right here that hold the mount to the frame, again, Loctite, red Loctite 271 on those. There's too many guys come in here with steering gears that are basically falling out of the Jeep. Pay attention to the torque, get the good hardware, and red Loctite is your friend here. You don't want to take this apart. You don't want it coming out. You don't want any type of wiggling with your steering gear, and I see it too much of the time. So be very careful, especially with your pitman arm. You got to get some torque on there. You got to get 185 minimum on that nut. So just make sure you got the vehicle on the ground, or if you got it on a lift, make sure you don't pull it off a lift and really pull on that thing till you get 185 foot-pounds. Okay, here is the nut and the washer that came off of Scott's original box. You can see that lock washer's broken. There was no Loctite on this, so I was able to basically take that off with just a hand wrench. And again, it should have been 200 foot-pounds from the factory. So if your lock washer breaks, you're not going to have any safety with that. So the red Loctite is going to keep things from moving, and the nylon thin lock nut is going to help out as well. So don't skimp on hardware on the steering box. Okay, here's Scott's power steering pump coming along. I think you can see the factory hole was here and here for mounting to the manifold. had to add this piece here. I think you can see where I welded it. Had to add this piece in here. That hole had to move over, and this hole where it used to be is now over here. And that's where it mounts to the block. So that's a Clifford setup on there. I was expecting everything to bolt on perfectly. We're way out of whack there. But I get a lot of questions about this. Just take a peek at the hardware and how this stuff goes. A lot of guys take their brackets off and they get confused how to put it back together. So you got metric hardware here, American hardware there, metric hardware here again, American hardware there, and you know, in the 80s there was a metric and regular bolts mixed in quite a bit. So this power steering pump is a good indication of that. Okay, now the pulley, you gotta make sure you tighten your bolts and stuff. There is the puller. I think I got a box over here. That's the puller. Don't try and bang these off. That just clips around there, and then you tighten that, it pulls it right off. Just as important as the puller is the installer. Thread that guy in there, and then turn this down, and it pushes the pulley right on there. Don't bang on that shaft. You'll mess up your pump before you even get started. Be very careful. If you don't have the tools, either get the tools or take it to somebody that has them for pulling the pulley and installing the pulley. Now I still got to get all this stuff painted up. Like I say, I had to weld that piece on there and make it work. But again, that's what it's going to look like. You put your 3/8 ratchet in there, or excuse me, 1/2 inch ratchet, and to adjust the belt. And that's how all your brackets go on that. So if you got screwed up on that, just take a peek at that, and that's how they go. Save your original hardware, like I say, metric and imperial. So just be careful when you're doing that. I'm going to get the rest of this stuff painted today. I'm going to get the pulley pressed back on, and tomorrow we can mount it when all the paint and everything is dry. So things are coming along on the Scrambler, and I'm going to try and spend much more time on that as I'm catching up on engines. We'll just take a peek over at some engines, and I'll show you where I'm at with those. Okay, super cold morning out there today. Everything was freezing up on me, but I got Bertram's M38 engine, squeaky clean, and I got the F-head that's following along, Bertram's. This one's squeaky clean as well. This one is, again, the one that the T98 was on, and it really needed a rebuild. So 60 over, perfectly honed, clean. Both of these engines are going to start to go back together, and then I'm pretty well caught up on engines, and I'm going to go full time on the Scrambler. And I like to get the exhaust done. I like to get the rest of the engine buttoned up, and I would like to get that started shortly. And then body work, lots and lots and lots of body and paint work. But exhaust got to go on next, so just let me know what you want to do on that, Scott, and I'll get it taken care of. Alright, that's where we're at. It's looking good, and I'm excited to hear this one run. Okay guys, I got the pulley just started on the pump here. This is our tool that we're going to use to press that on. I'm going to thread that into the pump. And you got a left-hand thread on the main body there. I'm going to try and do this without getting in the way. And we're just going to wind that guy in there. Don't try and use any impact tools on this or anything like that. Nice and easy. It's a precision fit. If your pulley's messed up, find another pulley, because that is a precision bored hole in there. and the pumps are a precision shaft. And when you get this all the way flush with the end of the shaft, then it's in the perfect spot. Your belts will align perfectly. So it takes a little bit, but if you bang that on with a hammer, you're going to have a pump failure, I can tell you that. So like I say, get the right tool or take it to somebody who has the right tool. And I think we're getting close. I hope we're still in focus here. I can't really see. Okay, I think we're tightening right up. Okay guys, takes a lot of turning, but I think we're all the way down there. Okay, now you can see everything's flush right there. That's where you want to stop. And before you put your pulley on, make sure your bolts are tight. Blue Loctite on all your power steering pump bolts. Not the permanent, not the red, but the blue Loctite. And we'll get this guy in after. But we're ready to get that. We'll try and get that mounted on the engine right now, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. Okay guys, there's a power steering pump on the engine. Original brackets, like I say, I had to change this bracket around. You could see how messed up that was. But no big deal. Everything is painted and detailed. Hoses are on. We'll do a final adjustment of these a little bit later. I don't like it that close to the manifold. I just wanted to keep dirt out of it. When you get done putting your pulley on, listen to this here. Okay, you see that going in and out? Don't think anything's wrong. That's how every single pump is. So don't think you messed anything up. It's going to do that. I have another pump that a customer sent me that he needs a new pump. And he didn't want to take the pulley off and swap the brackets and clean and detail everything. So let's go over to the bench. It'll be a good chance to show you. I showed you putting this on. I'll show you taking one off. And remember, this is not a bad thing. This is all going to work out. When the belt goes on, it's all going to run true. There'll be fluid in there. It's going to take up the slop. Don't worry about that. There's nothing wrong with the pump. Okay, here's an old beat up pump. Looks like they sawed the bracket off there, so there's not even a hole to catch two bolts on the intake. Let's look at this one. See, that does the same thing. That pulley's doing the same thing. That's just how all the pumps are. And like I say, when there's fluid in there, all that's going to be taken care of. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's get this and try and do this. Oops. Get that guy on there. Thread the bolt in. Yeah, tough to do with one hand, but you get the idea. We'll get the impact gun out. We'll take this off with the impact gun, and it should slide right off. This is from a 1980, I think. I got a 76 and I got an 80 in here that I got to put new pumps on for guys. But let's get this pulley off. This one's been on here since new, and we'll see how it does with that puller. Okay guys, let's see if we can get this pulley off here. Probably spending a little too much time on power steering pumps, but I see a lot of guys mangle them up, and they try and get it in a press, or they try and do something without the right pullers, and they get a mess. So that's why a lot of guys send them in to me. Okay, there it is. Now, that's something that can be easy or it can be hard. Like I say, I've had these tools for, God, since I did my first CJ7 way back when I was about 14 years old. And tools have been, they've probably done hundreds and hundreds of these, because I do get a lot of them. But those two tools are your friend. And you can see how nice that comes off. Again, this is a precision hole. It's a very heavy hub there. It's a precision board. And this is precision, so you see obviously it can't just slide back on. So make sure you have the right stuff if you're going to do this. And here's a bolt that fell out. You can see the blue Loctite on it. But if you're going to do this, make sure you have the tools. Okay, we'll get this stripped down. I'll talk to this guy, see if he wants a new bracket in the back. I might have a couple. And we'll get it cleaned up, get a new pump on that for him, and ship it right back to him. And with that, I think that's about all I have for you today. Not sure what's coming next. We got a few things in the works, but I'll bring you along and show you what's happening in the shop. But for now, we're going to end this one. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.